Welcome to the world's biggest motorcycle show.
Every year between Canadian Thanksgiving and American Thanksgiving, the motorcycle industry descends on an unassuming convention center in Milan, Italy, and in the words of the giant heads from Rick and Morty,
"Show me what you got!"
The Fiera Milano is 3.7 million square feet of exhibition space, and last year EICMA brought over 600,000 people to come check out the best the industry has to offer. This year, I went to see what all the fuss was about and get all touchy-feely with some new models from the likes of Honda, Kawasaki, Norton, CFMOTO, and more.
We're going to try to see as much as this show has to offer, but as you can see behind me there, this place is huge. So if you see something online and you're like, why didn't you cover that? It's probably because it was here and I missed it. So let's go see what we can find out, shall we?
It's kind of comical to fly halfway across the world and end up at the Harley Davidson booth first. This is the first booth I saw in walking in here. And while most of the Harley news so far for this year is bold new graphics, they did actually announce they're reducing the price on a couple of models by bringing out solo versions only.
Okay, now I needed to dive in real quick just to elaborate on this a little bit because this is some important news. Harley Davidson has now listened to us scream at them for years that their bikes are too expensive, and they're taking some steps to help out with that. I'm gonna have the exact prices for the solo trim bikes on the screen, as well as their relative competition in Indian. But the chief takeaway here is that I still believe that these bikes are a little bit too expensive. And if you're wondering why we haven't seen anything else about new models, that's because Harley Davidson does their returning bikes in November and they do their new bikes in January. So you know I'm gonna be covering that when that comes out.
But honestly, the biggest news I think is over with Livewire and the S4 Honcho. They also have a really killer Alpinista that I'm assuming is not available to buy. I'm reaching out to my guy at Livewire now to see if that's the case. Before we depart the Harley Davidson booth though, I do have to give props where it's due. They're showing some love to the Nightster. It hasn't looked very good in the past few years, but this like performance orange colorway that mimics the Double R looks very good. And honestly, I've been considering getting rid of my Roadster and swapping it over for something like this because the motor's just ready to rock and roll. So if I wanted to make like a track-built Sportster, it's that one right there.
Next stop for today is the Honda booth because they have just unveiled something that we've been hearing about for a long time, and it is that right there. That is the V3-900R, V3R900 compressor, E-compressor, which is basically forced induction, triple cylinder V-twin. 2 cylinders up front, a single cylinder out back. Yeah, this thing is nuts. And again, we've been hearing about this prototype for a while, but they actually have it working now. So question is, when are we actually going to see it in person? Nah, I've got no clue. I'm not going to lie, Honda's been playing it pretty safe lately, so it's good to see them start pushing some limits again. However, I can't leave without showing you the CB100 or 1000F right there. As a former Hornet owner myself, this is so nice to see. It is a good-looking bike that definitely could pick up the mantle of the Hornet, more so than the new one can. Very interested to check this one out. I love the way that the headlight looks, and with the horns up front. This is me from tomorrow cutting in to tell you that me from yesterday forgot to shout out the CB1000 GT. Yeah, it's a touring bike with a CB1000 motor in it. I don't know. I think it's a little ugly, I'm not gonna lie.
Now, if you're enjoying this video, it's worth pointing out that it was a lot longer, and there's a huge mega cut available over on Patreon or in the YouTube memberships, where I talk about brands like BMW, Royal Enfield, MV Agusta and Indian, and a whole bunch of other ones that didn't make it into the YouTube cut. So if you're interested, click the link down in the description below and check that out. Otherwise, let's keep going.
And this, you could argue, is the entire reason why I'm here. In fact, Cardo flew me out to come check out their new Beyond helmet and their booth here at EICMA, because they have test chambers. And I'm gonna see if I can't go in there, not just with their helmet, but with my Alpine Stars helmet that I wear normally on the road.
Specs-wise, the Beyond GTS that I tested has a carbon fiber composite shell, an ECE 2206 safety rating, a built-in Cardo comm system with 2 kilometers worth of claimed range, heads-up display LEDs, integrated brake light, crash detection, 53mm speakers, and Cardo's all-new active noise cancellation, which is what we're here to test out. Lastly, the lid weighs in at 1,870 grams or 4.1 pounds, which sounds like a lot, but the SuperTech is 3.5 pounds without a Cardo on it. But the real question is the ANC a gimmick or does it work? Cardo's wind chamber was blasting folks with an average of 75 miles an hour wind speed, and I tried it against the SuperTech R10 to see what the difference really was.
That is very cool. That's super impressive.
Okay, so we just got done in the sound chamber, and the biggest thing I can tell you right out of the gate is the active noise cancellation, at least in the controlled environment, it did sound a lot better than my Alpine Stars with 45mm drivers. Do the bigger drivers mean better sound and better volume on the road? I don't know. I tested it in their booth, which is not exactly a one-to-one comparison. One thing that I can say though is the helmet actually does feel good in the hand. When I compare it to something like my Alpine Stars, which in my hand kind of creaks and makes some noises, this thing is rock solid. And this right here I think is actually one of the most important things that I wanted to show you. What happens to a helmet that costs north of $1,000 that has all this technology in it when either the shell goes bad or let's say you have a bum speaker or something like that? Well, you can actually replace all of this stuff with the exception of like the side buttons. All of this is serviceable. You can go in and remove the part and either send it over to Cardo or they can send it to you. I'm not 100% sure yet, but you're not stuck with a lump when something goes wrong. Sometimes you see a smart helmet come out, they're just like, yay, here, have the thing. And they didn't think about the lifespan of the helmet. This is what I like to see.
So, Triumph booth. This is the one I'm sure a lot of people are looking for, the Trident 800. I am in a wait and see mindset with this one, I'm not gonna lie. My previous experience with a Trident is the 660, and I gotta say, not a big fan. I don't like the dashboard, which this one has a very similar layout. I did not enjoy the power delivery, but I have yet to ride the 800 Tiger Sport. So this has a lot more power, it's a little bit more premium. So we'll have to see how this feels. It definitely looks better. It looks beefier. It doesn't feel as 650-ish, if you catch my drift. It doesn't feel like a European MT-07. It actually feels like it's trying to be a middleweight. So definitely interested in checking one out. The minute AF1 has one, I'm gonna go test ride it. Unless the folks try, if you wanna hit me up, there's an email in the about section. You can just send me an email. But before we move on to our next location, we do have to talk about that Scrambler 900, which is new and built for scrambling from coffee shop to coffee shop. It doesn't have the ground clearance of its bigger brothers. Looks great, definitely looks the part, but not really an off-road motorcycle.
So wandered over to the Ducati booth just to see what's what. They have a handful of bikes up under some claws, and they're not pulling those for another 2.5 hours, something like that. So at the moment, the coolest Ducati is not actually at the Ducati booth. It's right next door at the Brembo booth, because that right there is, well, you can't really see it, but trust me, it's in there. It's Marc Marquez's race bike. We're never going to get to see that sort of thing at a show in the States. Just imagine that at like an American motorcycle show. They'd all just be like, oh, these guys, all they want to see is baggers.
Okay, so I'm officially calling it for today. I've seen a lot from a lot of the major manufacturers, but I've walked the soles off the bottom of my feet, and it is time for me to head back to the hotel, recuperate, and do this all over again tomorrow. I got to, at the very least, find the Aprilia booth before I tap out, because I want to see what they've got going on for next year. But I need to go find a pile of noodles, and I need to go fall asleep. So for day 2, my biggest goal right now is to go find the Aprilia booth. I have no clue where it is, so come along for what's probably going to be a lot of walking. And welcome to the land of bold new graphics at the Suzuki booth. And obviously, I'm just kidding. They do have the 40th anniversary Gixxer 1000 here, which looks really nice. They do have some aero on it now and some other updates here and there. Nothing major to write home about, I don't think. I mean, it's still a Gixxer 1000, so it's going to be a beast. More importantly, though, they have the GSX-8 TT here, which is a bike, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, that's going to help separate the GSX-8S from all the other naked bikes out there, because it just looks cool. It stands out. Speaking of looking cool and standing out, you can see that Street Fighter stand up right there. They have the Street Fighter one-off GSX-8R, which I think they should just embrace the nerdiness of motorcycles and release that motorcycle. Motorcyclists generally, we're a very nerdy bunch, and I guarantee you, if you release that bike in small batches for an upcharge, like an extra grand, people would buy the shit out of it. It actually looks really cool. I can't stand the way the GSX-8R looks normally, but with these kind of different graphics packages, I can look past the sharp edges and stuff, and I can really get with it. They should just release it. Come on, Suzuki, embrace the meme. Bold new graphics. As much as I joke about Suzuki pounding the same pavement year over year, kind of feels like that's what Yamaha's doing this year. They did manage to make the MT-09 uglier, though, somehow. They gave it a crown. I genuinely don't know what's going on with Yamaha and the MT line. It's just that they're getting uglier and uglier and uglier every single time. I will say the XSR GP looks so good, though, mostly because it doesn't look like a Transformer. So I'd love to see that and ride it stateside. Not sure if we're ever going to get it, but hey, it looks really, really cool. Nothing major really to report at the Kawasaki booth here. I mean, they do have the KLE 500, which to me is kind of another also ran in the 450-ish adventure bike game. Did we really need another one? I guess, maybe, as an alternative to the KLR. It's okay, because, you know, it's going to be lighter and faster and have 6 gears and all that. But I don't know, man. It's getting real crowded. They do have the ZX-10RR, which that sure is a green super sport. It looks really cool, but it is also very green. So I think you got to be about that life. Otherwise, it's, you know, business as usual over here in Kawasaki land. Also, why did they make the front of the KLE look like Darth Vader's helmet? I can't be the only one who sees that, right? Welcome to the Piaggio Group booth, otherwise known as Aprilia, Moto Guzzi, and Vespa. This booth is kind of interesting because per capita, they have more models paid to sit on their bikes and pout. You can even see one guy right there standing with the MotoGP bikes. So, interesting strategy, Aprilia. But I will say they do have some fun updates for this year. Nothing major to write home about. Mostly it's just bold new graphics. They do have a new scooter though. It's a 400cc parallel twin scoot that actually looks kind of cool. I'm not 100% sure if it's coming to the US, but if it is, 100%, I'm gonna go check it out at AF1 if they let me. As far as the motorcycles go, you can see right there, kinda, is the new RSV4 Factory in the Shakedown Indigo colorway, they call it. I think it's gonna be very polarizing. I think it's gonna be very, very polarizing. People are either gonna love it or hate it. One thing that does bum me out is the RSV4's motor is not in the Tuono V4. They still are running the old 180 horse motor in the factory. I really think what they ought to do is take the RSV4 factory motor and put that in the Tuono V4 factory, because who wouldn't want a 220 horsepower Tuono? That sounds awesome. Now here's one I was not expecting to see, and that's Norton. They have a long and less than illustrious recent history of being in the news for a whole bunch of pension fraud. They got bought out by TVS, or massive investment from TVS, and now they have their super bikes that they have been talking about for a long time. The only problem is, holy fuck, boys, are these bikes ugly. Oh my God. It looks like they stopped at the concept stage and they were like, yep, good enough. I don't understand why they covered the entire motor in plastic. Is it that ugly? They look like toys. I'm sorry. They don't look good. Sure, it makes 200 plus horsepower out of a 1200-ish cc V4. Maybe they're going to be super attainable, and that's their, carrot. But these first runs are just, oh my God. I'm sorry, Norton. I was rooting for you, man, but this ain't it. Now, I know some people are going to be angry that I'm standing at the CFMOTO booth, but honestly, I don't give a fuck, because they just dropped their SR-RR, which is a bad name, V4 prototype, which they claim makes over 210 horsepower. And sure, they have the MT-1000s, which are big parallel twin, Africa twin style adventure bikes that definitely look like they have more off-road chops. But, I mean, just over there, that pile of people, that's where the V4 is. I could barely get close to film the thing. You could tell some people are really pumped about it. And I think this is what really is going to help CFMOTO go from just that brand that uses the KTM motor to, no, these guys are serious players. If they can put out the V4 at a price that people can afford and approach, and then they come out with a naked bike, honestly, Ducati and Aprilia are going to have some serious competition, because that bike looks sick. I'm not sure the wings need to be 6 feet wide like they are right now, and I'm not sure that they need to be active, pointing up and down like the actual ailerons on an airplane, but it's cool. And I think, again, that's what sets CFMOTO and some of these other Chinese companies apart. They know that what you want is a cool looking bike, and that bike is sick. I did wander back over to the Ducati booth just to check out what was under the sheets from yesterday, and they unveiled a handful of motorcycles. First and foremost are the Marc Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia versions of their V2. They look good, I'm not gonna lie. The Marc Marquez one definitely looks a lot better. They're also proving that you can charge a boatload of money for special editions if you do it right, because they've got the Diavel RS and the Multistrada V4 RS over there. I don't know. They're a spicy meatball, but then again, which Ducati isn't. Yeah, I mean, it's typical Ducati stuff. Special editions all the way down. And I figure this is a good enough spot to end things, coming full circle, ending up back at the Cardo booth. A huge shout out to the folks at Cardo for bringing me out here. And if you're interested in checking out the Beyond helmet, all of the specs are included in a link down below. Now, this video has been a bit scattershot. There will be a full breakdown, me going over some of the specifics, specifically my bikes of the show, both positive and negative. And I've got some interesting negatives, although if you've been paying attention, you probably already know. So stay tuned for that one. Catch you guys in the next one, and I gotta figure out how to get out of here. Bye.